Maia, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And just a heads up, my little dog at some point might walk through the screen.
Oh, good. Well, I'll welcome it. Every once in a while they play show and tell, so I might ask you about the things in the background and all that stuff. Look at that.
This is Louie. Hi, Louie.
Louie.
In a minute, yeah.
Nice to. Oh, what a good dog.
Well.
That's your baby. Huh?
Yeah, we'll see.
One dog in the house, and that's it?
Oh, God. Yeah, that's plenty. Hopefully he's going to be all right.
I'll try 3 minimum in our house. And they're indoor dogs, so.
Louie's already a handful, although a second one might help, but no, it's just going to be the one for a while. All right.
Hey, Louie or not, just feel free to let Louie be free.
Yeah, he's going to be hanging out here for a while. Okay. Easy, buddy.
Take 1, because take 2 is not acceptable. Here we go. And 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 3. How you doing, everybody? My name is Dean Olson. I am a songwriter, radio host, and producer from Orange County, California. And I'm really just an average guy who loves to make music. But when I get behind this microphone, I become the StrongWriter on the radio, helping songwriters and artists keep musically fit. And the way I love to do that is through faith and hope and encouragement, by taking in the stories and experiences told to me by my wonderful guests, and by learning from the best in the business and passing it along to you. Now, it's another beautiful day for a fantastic show, and I want to welcome you to it as I put papers aside here so I can welcome a wonderful guest. I have the pleasure of visiting today with an extremely talented artist and songwriter who is, the woman you're seeing on the screen right here is MAIA SHARP. She is an LA native. She grew up there, and today she lives in the east side of Nashville with a lot of my friends and musical guests out there. Maia has put out roughly 7 or so albums, give or take, during the last quarter century. She's been doing this for a few years, and as I'm going to say, the latest one that she's releasing is called Mercy Rising. Is set for release in May, and I hope I get the facts close enough, because I'm all about facts, and this guest will set me straight, because if I screw anything up in the notes I'm looking at here, please everybody put your hands together and welcome MAIA SHARP to the program. Okay, now that I got that out of the way.
The sound of one man clapping. Thank you.
So it's very nice to meet you. We were talking a little bit. I may have a little pre-interview because you had some wonderful things. Plus, your what are you doing down there with your arm? I can see something moving at the bottom of the screen. Who is this?
This is Louie, and he showed up right when we were starting the interview. I thought he was asleep upstairs, and he's just like, "Oh, I want to be on Zoom too." And now
almost as if you invoked his name 3 times. There he was, and
there he was
in the screen there,
like a flash.
Well, it's very nice to get to meet you. I described you as a very extremely talented songwriter, and that's very evident in the album that I just heard. And I haven't heard any of your other music. That's why I said quarter century. It looked like the first one was listed as 97. So
it was in 97.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? Maybe maybe I'm doing the math wrong. Maybe it should be. Maybe you've been only doing this a couple of years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's only been 24 years. So I don't know what you're saying about this whole, 25-year thing.
Oh, okay. So it's like, hey, let's get it straight. It's not quite 25 yet, but it will be.
Yeah. It's been a road, though. I mean, yeah, there's been, I don't even know which one this is. You said it was 7. It might actually be more like 8. Like I've done a couple kind of off the reservation. Yeah. I've managed to keep the wheels a turning for this long. So.
That's the nice thing about when you can go on, Wikipedia. I looked up you, and so I figured, they never lie, right? So I figured that.
Yeah, everything's always 100% accurate.
Yeah,
actually, all music has been very accurate, like in the last 2 years or so. So everything there seems to be right. In fact, I've had to look some stuff up about me there. And like, wait, when was that? And it's up there on All Music.
I get a tad lazy on that, but it's kind of by design. I mean, I could look at the footnotes and go like, okay, I'll look at the actual article. But I figured, hey, listen, if it's wrong, I want the guest to tell me what's right, and that way I get it straight from the the artist. That thing. I wasn't going to say the horse's mouth, but I did now. So anyway, you are you have a wonderful voice. You are destined to be a musical artist, but you seem to be more heavily into songwriting because your songs have been picked up by other artists, and I dig that about people who like to make music. And was this intentional for you, or did people just discover your music and go, "This is great, I want to cover it," or what?
Well, right at the very beginning, since we're talking about 1997, right at the very beginning, when I signed my first record deal and publishing deal and had my song recorded by another artist, it was all like in that same year, basically. Cher recorded one of my songs in 1996, and then my first album was out in 1997. And as soon as I heard that voice that we've all heard forever.
You mean Cher's? Yeah.
Cher's voice singing my lyric. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
I was just hooked on the idea of another artist recording my songs. So just like from the very, very start, it was like, okay, I want to do this also. So I want to make albums, but I also really want to stay in the game of finding some way to have other artists, hopefully ones that have already been making albums for a while, record my songs also. So I have tried to split the screen, the whole way. And the way that the artist would get those songs is kind of a different story for every song. Like sometimes I would write with the artist. And the other side of this, the other reason why I always kept them both up is because they definitely serve each other. Like I've been afforded opportunities as a writer many times because I was an artist first, and the albums, like I would make an album that another writer heard, or I would get an opportunity to like open for another artist, and then they would hear my songs and they would want to record the songs. So being an artist afforded me songwriter opportunities, and then being a writer helped me as the artist also. So I knew that like they're really going to serve each other. So I really have to keep them both up. So there were some times where I would write the song with the other, with the other artists. I'm trying to think of examples like Lisa Loeb and I wrote, for her. Terry Clark and I would write for her. And then there were times where it was kind of more old school, like a publisher, would pitch. And then there were times where like my stuff was just kind of out there and somebody heard it and wanted to record it. So it's also all an argument for like, just show up in as many ways as you can, and that's how other people are going to hear it. But yeah,
so it's all good. It's all good. However you slice it.
And especially, songs. And for me, because the writing itself is my very, very first love. Absolutely. Like if I had to choose between like, I can either write the songs or I can go, on stage and sing them, I would choose to write them, every time.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And for those who are listening and can't see what's going on with Maia, every once in a while I might make an aside here, and it's because Louie is really vying for her attention here.
Yeah.
And that's very familiar because we do that too at home. We have 3 dogs, and they especially the big one that we're babysitting for my son. It's a border collie, the girl, and she's got to be like right in your face. Pay attention to me. It's not so. This is how your babies are, I think. So
I know, and he was this wasn't planned. Like he was just like so sleepy and fine upstairs, and then all of a sudden he decided he had a burst of energy.
Until
here we are.
So the thing with Cher, when you was that maybe the first one where you sort of had a flash and go, oh wow, I just got a taste of how great it is when something, when she covered it or when she sang it. Yeah.
I was
like hearing it for the first time almost. Yeah.
It was absolutely the first time. It was, it was the first time I'd ever felt that feeling of like, oh, I don't know. And also the compliment of somebody chose to put one of my songs on their album, Yeah. There's only so many slots, and she's getting pitched who knows how many songs. And then I made one of those slots. It's like, it's just such a, a pat on the back, and it's like, I got to keep on at least trying this. In fact, that writing just to write was really first. And I realized early on, like, I'm not going to find another artist to record every song that I want to be out there. So I'm going to have to be the artist. So like I started, working on the chops to get up there and be in the center of the stage and be the singer and be that person because I just had to write, and I knew I was going to have a lot of songs, and some of them nobody else was going to cut. So I'm going to have to be the artist.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever's going to fit your, that mold that you have, I was just as a 30,000 foot view of you, you seem to be very serious at your craft. You probably study or you go to other places to associate with other songwriters and learn things, to keep yourself sharp, no pun intended there. But because I peeked on your socials, you attend some things from time to time, and it's good to associate with other songwriters, right?
I've been co-writing pretty much since the beginning. I mean, I still write alone here and there, but when I'm writing alone, I take a long time. Like I write a little bit, I step away, I come back, I step away.
Yeah.
Most of the songs that I write are written with other writers, and I love that. I always learn something from it. I always get expanded in some way. I got some, there are times when you kind of start to go to the same thing, like your thought processes lead to kind of the same place. And when I'm writing with other writers, that can't really happen. Like there's a fresh pool of ideas happening all the time. I also write for an organization called Songwriting with Soldiers. That's what I've been doing. I probably have posted about that a couple times a month. And I do it a couple times a month, maybe 3 times. And I sit down with a group of veterans and they share their stories, whatever they want to share. And it's up to me to make a song out of that in a very short amount of time, like way shorter than I'm used to. So the challenge of that though, and the rawness that I have to bring to it, and the openness and the just ego at the door, like I'm not even in the room. I'm just there to craft it. I'm just there to write. That I've learned a ton from that also.
Yeah. Oh, that's probably, I want to say it sharpens your skills because of, it's almost like improvisational stuff, hey, here I am. Here's my story. And I go, okay, I got to come up with something right now. Is there ever any pressure, or is it pretty easy for you to like get into that moment and start creating something from it?
Well, the pressure is, there's some pressure to finish. I mean, everybody's cool. So it isn't like angry pressure or anything, but I really, really want to bring it for these people. I mean, I instantly want to like honor them and, show up, like they have shown up, like they're being extremely brave to share these stories with me. Like the least I can do is a really good job and write the song, come on, I got to bring it. So yeah, the pressure, for me to do my job.
Yeah. Has your songwriting life become a career? Do you have a day job, or are you, or is this what you do all day and all night? I managed to make this, some version of this has been my job for that entire 24 years. Right.
And sometimes it's like mostly performing. Sometimes it's mostly writing. Sometimes it's, songwriting with soldiers. Sometimes it's workshops here and there, online shows, Patreon. I have a Patreon page and I do a bunch of stuff there. I post a new song every month. I do a weekly check-in. I do an online show. I can do a workshop through there, a custom song, like you name it. And which is another thing that I love about all this. It's extremely unstable, but every day is different. Yeah. I have a checklist that doesn't look anything like the checklist that I had a day ago.
That's good. You probably welcome that.
I do.
So Patreon is something that a lot of my friends do, and I've considered it for the last couple of years, ever since I learned about it. And What's different about using that platform as opposed to the other, like maybe putting your things on Facebook like everybody does, you know?
So Patreon is it's a monthly subscription, and you choose the level that you want. Like my lowest level, you get the song that no one else has ever heard. You get that once a month. You get the video check-in every week, and then just like, a couple of surprises, like an interview with a friend or an extra song or something like that, right? And then like the online show is the next level, and like handwritten lyrics are the next level. So it also encourages kind of a two-way flow. Like knowing that they're there inspires me to keep it up, and knowing that they can easily reach me anytime and like request a song for the online show. And then, I'll give a shout out about them, thanks for asking for this one, Linda, or whatever. It's like, so I don't know, there's more of it feels like it does after the show, like when you go over to the merch table and you get to actually visit with your people. Yeah. And I miss that on the road, obviously, because there's no on the road now.
Right.
So at the beginning, of the shutdown, I signed up for this, and it wasn't something I ever thought that I would do, but I'm so glad that I did, because it keeps that fire lit. I mean, not that the fire goes out or anything, but it is cool. Like, oh, Sunday, I have to post this. That's super helpful. And, financially, it helps a little bit. And it also just like keeps me, also, I know that it's that same list of people that are hearing this every time. So when I bring a new show, and it's just me and Louie in this room, like, so when I bring a new show, I don't want it to be like the show that they saw last time. So I have to think of like some whole new approach. Okay, everything's going to be on the piano today. Okay, this show is going to be all of my guitars. We're going to go electric for this one, high strung for this one, acoustic for this. Like, it makes me think of these new angles that I wouldn't have done otherwise.
Seems like a fun experience because all the people, and it's a little bit, because I support a lot of people on Patreon. I may be considering you as well, because even if it's just like, the $5 or whatever it is, just so I can check in. It's a little bit like, it's like a pledge week or something like that. I pledge some money, and in turn I get some goodies out of it. It's just like any other thing. But the nice thing about for you is that all the people that are, tuning into you or supporting, that they're all, big supporters and friends of yours that are truly enjoying watching what you're doing out there.
Yeah, they're super supportive. They seem to be in it for the long haul. And I like to think of little ways to thank them. Like, as you said earlier, the album is coming out on May 7th. Okay. But my Patreons can get it right now because it's pressed, and I have it. Nice. So I was like, why not just like offer these little things? Like, you get it first, you get it, for a little less money. Yeah. You get just, and it's fun to think of these things because these are things I wouldn't have thought about otherwise.
Yeah. One thing, I'll tie two things together, because we were talking about, when the shutdown happened last year, and we're getting almost to the point where it was a year anniversary. Maybe I'm wrong in this, because like I said, I peeked at some of your socials. Did you have something where your friend or, Bonnie Raitt was somebody that you were going to open for, or, play with on, and it sounded like, I was just looking at the dates on it. It looks like it was just about to happen, and that's when things shut down. Yeah. Did that ever happen before? Did you get to do it before, or did it get canceled?
It got pushed and pushed and pushed, and its last rescheduling is November 17th, and that looks like it's going to hold. So I am on track still to open for her. That sounds
like a long way in the future, doesn't it?
I know, but it also sounds like how long you have to go out to make sure that it's really going to happen. She won't put a show on if she feels like it's not, a safe thing to offer to her people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was originally scheduled for March, end of March 2020. So I mean, how is that going to go? I mean, I'll tell you too, this is March 2nd today.
Yes.
A year ago today, a tornado ripped through my neighborhood, and
oh, that's right. I remember the tornado. Yeah.
It just wreaked havoc. I was extremely lucky. lost a tree in the front yard, some shingles, a couple pieces of fence.
Wow.
But the house held. Like one block over, they were not so lucky. It was really rough. And trees, like this used to be like a tree lined area, and now like
Wow.
there's hardly any trees.
Oh, wow.
One
wow.
week after that, I woke up feeling awful, and it turns out I had the virus.
No
So
kidding.
but I wasn't sure. We didn't know that it was COVID yet because you didn't go test for it right away. And then when you did test for it, it literally took 2 weeks for the results to come back. So I didn't know what it was exactly, but it was like a horrible sinus infection. And the Bonnie date was still on the books. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this date? Like, I'm never going to make it. I have to get on a plane like this. Everybody's going to think I have COVID. And then it turns out I did. And fortunately for everybody, the show didn't happen then. And they pushed it to like October and then pushed it to February of this year. And now it got pushed again. So I'm happy that, I mean, of course it sucks. So much of it sucks that it's pushed and pushed, but
Yes,
I'm glad that the show is still on and that it seems to be scheduled for outside of the, of the scary range.
yeah, wow. Everybody has a story. Everybody I talked to has had that story. Things were going this way, and then bam, something happened. Like the shutdown happened, and now we had to go to Plan B, or we didn't have one, and now what are we going to do? So it's tough for performers. It's really a tough thing.
Oh man, and we're pretty versatile just because we're already doing something that is not a predictable.
Right. It's not your conventional job that people have. Yeah.
Yeah. We've already had to adapt a few times in our lives if we're still surviving at this. But this was like, okay, it's time to this is like the adaptation Olympics now. It's like, how are you going to get through this? Yeah. And then there are these little things, these Zoom house concerts and, a Patreon page. And then stuff starts to open up a little bit. Like I have a couple live shows and everybody's masked and everybody's far away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a lot.
Forgive the personal question, but how's your mental health? Have you been fine through this, or because a lot of people have been going a little nuts?
Yeah, I've been mostly fine through it. A lot of check-ins with friends, FaceTime and Zooming and family. I live very near a park, which I think has saved me a lot. Walking in the park and just being around other human beings, even if we're not,
Yeah, you're not cooped up. You're still getting out and, in the elements and in nature and the outdoors.
Yeah. But there's times where it totally wears on me, where I feel like I am I feel like, is it midnight or 1? And I look at the clock and it's like 8. It's like, oh God.
I can understand that. Yeah, there was a period I was going through that too. It was like, the days run together. You don't. You could be up at 4 a.m. for no reason, and what's strange is everybody was going through the same thing. So that was, maybe they weren't doing the same things, but we all had to be stuck doing, we all had to change our lives instantly like that.
Yeah. And we can find ways to embrace the camaraderie there. And we are all in this together apart.
Yeah.
We are sharing this very unique experience, which can help to bring us closer.
Yeah.
If we so choose.
So, wow. Writing is your life. It sounds like, which is nice. You know who you remind me of now. If I'm saying a name that doesn't mean anything to you, forgive me. But Shelley Peiken?
I do know her.
Okay.
Yeah. We've met a few times, and I'm familiar with some of her work, not all of it. Yeah,
I was going to say you vaguely have similarities in your story, or at least the way you approach songwriting. She prefers to collaborate. It seems like she really enjoys the experience, and and everybody's different, and she loves it. And she has a story about somebody. I think it was Taylor Dane, where she was the one that was she was your Cher.
Oh yeah.
And that sort of that sort of sparked got a flame going, and it became it sort of started rolling forward after that. So
yeah, it's easy to get hooked on that feeling. I don't even know what to call it, but to to hear your words through somebody else's voice and vibe, and especially somebody with whom you were already familiar, and like, what's even happening? Like, this person, I mean, Jesus, the first time I heard my songs recorded by Bonnie Raitt, what?
And by the way, we talked about how you were going to do the show. Had you already done shows with her before, Bonnie?
No, I met her. This is one of those examples of like the artist got helped because of the writer. She heard the songs first and recorded 3 of them on her album Souls Alike, and then asked me to come into the studio and recreate some of the backgrounds that I had done there and some of the horn section work that I had done there, because I was a saxophone player for years first. And so I came in, and that's how we met. And once we were in the studio together hanging out, she asked me to sit in on one show for one song. And after that, she asked me to open for her for a bunch of shows. I know. So it just,
that's cool.
All happened. And now we're really good friends. And
she's been at this thing for a long time too. Cause that must've been great that you this is one of your heroes, correct?
Oh, I mean, if not like the one, like, she was such an influence on me, all of it, just her vocal style, her vibe, her power, her kind of earthiness, just so soulful. Yeah.
And she's one of those artists that, she didn't have a lot of hits on the radio until maybe like the late 80s or 90s. Right.
Yeah.
So, but I remember, you grew up in California. Do you remember any, like, on TV, Select TV, some of these things? There was like it was like a pay TV service.
Oh yeah. I remember.
And I think it was in the late 70s. I saw Bonnie Raitt in concert. I'd never knew about her. I think she even had the little stripe in her hair back then. And she did a concert, and I thought it was great, but I didn't know any of the songs, but I just, that's how I learned about her. And then I go, well, I didn't hear anything else. She must be one of those underground, or, she's one of these artists that performs, under.
Yeah. It's funny. Cause she was at that, like, just under for so long. Cause like my folks and a lot of our friends were huge Bonnie Raitt fans for years. And I had seen her live as a kid, and, for, I don't even know how many times, maybe 6 or 7 times. And her shows were always, sold out. She had hardcore fans who knew, all of her lyrics.
Oh yeah.
And in fact, my very first dream was to be a saxophone player for Bonnie Raitt. Like, that's what I thought I really, really wanted to do.
Wow. And do you play the saxophone today? I mean, do you
I do, yeah. And she asked me to sit in on sax when I opened for her, to come up and sit in. It was like, holy crap, like this like 12-year-old's dream. And I got in through, and this is like, I had substituted, saxophone as my first love with, the writing as my first love. And that's what drew her to me. That's how I met her. And then now I'm playing sax. Like, it was awesome.
Do you believe? I'm sorry, keep going.
I was just going to say, she was doing those shows, and like had hardcore fan group for years and years before the album that like put her into like winning all the Grammys and all that. But there were so many of us who were like, that's not a new artist. Like, we've known you for so many albums and love. And it was such a victory when she was, finally recognized on a level like that. Cause she should, in my mind, she should have been there the whole time. But maybe that's a part of why she is who she is because it took a different road there, maybe a longer road,
Yeah. Do you think there are no accidents? It's kind of, it's fitting that you got to get to know her at least, or get the opportunity to play with her. And you never would have done that had you not had this, maybe in the back of your mind saying, oh, that'd be wonderful to play sax with Bonnie Raitt. And look at you got very close, and you're still going to be playing, in November. Let's hope so.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to have to find a way
I'm pulling for you. I love to live vicariously through people who are their dreams are coming true. I love that stuff. So.
Yeah. Well, thanks. That one was like, fetal in the corner. Like, I can't believe this has happened. It's Bonnie. It's really Bonnie.
So when we were talking about the year 1997 or 24 years back, is that really when things started? Is that when you officially got into, quote, the game, unquote?
Yeah, that's really when it was like, okay, this can be a career now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Cher song was going, and having that, kind of, on the resume now could get me in some other doors. I had a record deal. I had a publishing deal associated with a record deal. The head of my label, Miles Copeland,
Yeah.
put on a songwriting retreat a couple times a year at his uh, castle, for real, in
Yes.
France. I don't know if you've heard about this. It went on for
Not
years.
not officially, but tell me.
Well, he and a co-sponsor, it was usually Rondor, would collect 24 songwriters and get them out there, and we would write in groups of 3, which would change every day, and then we would record the song at night. And it got to the place, it started with like 1 engineer and a mobile rig, and then it got to the place where like 2 full-on studios. So we would record those songs at night. And it was this thing that just like sounded impossible. Like, how are we going to like meet there, write with a couple strangers, probably having not slept because you just flew across the world, and then record that song at night and do it every day, a new song.
That's great.
It was so cool. And he was my first one. I'm like 25 or 26 maybe. And I went 8 times over probably 4 or 5 years. And because he owned a piece of me, right? Because I was, he had like half of my publishing on everything I wrote there.
Because he had a label, right? That was offshoot. It was Arc 21, I think.
Arc 21. That was my first label. Yeah, he would put me in these writing rooms that he wanted a slice of course. So that was his way to do it. So he put me in like my second day there. I wrote with Carole King and Gary Burr. Like,
wow.
I'm 25 something. Like, what is even happening? So I had these massively cool experiences because of that. And he didn't like necessarily pitch the songs that we wrote, but he put me in these killer rooms that would afford those opportunities just because I was there. So yeah, that it was a very strong first like two years, because I was getting all these really wonderful opportunities.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm glad you brought him up, because I love Miles Copeland, but I think I would be so scared to be in his presence or work under him because of his public persona. I think he'd be like, you can't perform. Well, get out. You were done. Yeah, he's no nonsense, and he will not tolerate fools or laziness.
No, he's pretty intense. I never felt like it was that like, all right, I'll give you 4 words, and if I don't like those 4 words, you're out. Like it was, it wasn't quite that hard ass, but he had a different way of thinking about stuff. And some of his ideas were just totally wacky. Like, let's tour women's prisons. Like, okay. What do we get from that? I'll do it like just to be helpful, but I don't know that that's really promoting the record,
Yeah.
And then he would be like, how about we fly a bunch of songwriters to my castle? Like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. Like, so he would have these ideas that like were seemingly wacky, then some of them were amazing.
Yeah. Touring a women's prison. I don't know what will happen there, but what was his intention, I wonder. But he at least the myth or the folklore is that he turned the Go-Go's around, turned them into something special for pop radio, at least, so the public would take to him, because they were just they were a punk band basically here in LA doing stuff, and he got them to sort of focus and turn in. Even maybe they resisted, but Miles stood his ground and got them pretty famous, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure. In fact, I got to write with a couple of the Go-Go's, and I have not. Now I'm regretting that I didn't ask, because I have not heard that story firsthand from them. But he is the kind of guy who would do that. Like, and he he could have done that with the Police as well. He was their manager for years.
Yeah.
He is.
Stewart would be. I guess when you're brothers, you can hash it out and
Right. And be real.
And be real about it. Yeah.
Like, who knows what happened?
All the three brothers, Ian and he, whatever.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I'm just, we talking about, living vicariously. That's probably my number one. I would, see, I'd be intimidated by Sting, because Sting was one of my biggest songwriting influences, because I was a Rabid Police fan and Sting fan. I could forgive him through all his changes. So
I mean, are you aware of how high that note is in Roxanne?
No, I used to be able to hit it with him. I could sing that note.
God.
Yeah.
I can't sing that note.
I think I could probably do it, but I think I might have to drop it one key. Oof. But it's not, I don't want to ruin my throat.
He's doing that. He was doing that every night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he has, when his speaking voice is higher than mine too. So, I always figured that there's a range, and then there's also, hey, he's naturally up here. So it makes sense that he could go that high and scream that high on pitch,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a wonderful thing. But that I was always curious about Miles Copeland, what it was like to work with him. And was it a temporary thing? Were you just there for a short period and then you moved on to something else?
Yeah, I was there. So he put out the first album, and I made a second album that didn't come out. It wasn't released because of some internal thing. And there was like a disagreement with the distribution or whatever. Like, it wasn't about the album. It's just like one of those kind of war stories. Like, it's almost like a rite of passage. Like, if you haven't made an album that, was shelved and never came out, you haven't really been in the business.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, I did mine, in 98 or 99, but they were super, super cool about it. Like, I ended up, they let me take a couple of the tracks over to my next record deal.
Oh,
so
good.
Yeah, my next was Concord a couple years later, and so I got to use a couple of the things that we recorded, and they just basically, for like a break-even amount of money, they let me take them.
It's an interesting business doing that kind of thing, and you've had those aren't even your two only labels. You did some more things, right? You went to others, or do you have your own label now, or do you?
I do.
Yeah.
So this one is released on my label. The last one was released on E1. Blix Street was before that for a couple of records.
Okay.
And Koch was before that, and E1 and Koch were the same or are the same. I'm not sure, but it's, I think a lot of the same folks there. And then Concord was before that, and then Arc 21 was the beginning. So yeah, wow. 5 label. Is that a badge or a scarlet letter? I don't know what that is.
Just to close the book on Miles Copeland, since we talked about him for a little bit there, was that a good experience for you all in all when you look back on it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and there's some, he's a little left of center, but he also didn't have to check with anybody, and if he liked it, it went forward.
Yeah,
he pushed the button on it. There was a lot of hemming and hawing happening with, labels that I was sending my stuff to, and like, oh, we like it, but we need to hear more like this song, or, all right, well, let's wait till we come, wait until we can come to a show. And so I would book show after show after show that I wouldn't have normally booked, and then they never came, or they came at the very end, or then the A&R guy got fired, and it didn't really matter that he liked the song anymore. Like, there was so many like stupid little drawing out.
Yeah.
Miles didn't draw out. Like, I like this, let's do it. He didn't have to check with anybody.
Yeah.
He just made it happen. And then he brought me into his fold of all of these things, including the Castle, which ended up being huge. And I still have friends from that I talk to. And my first one, I started going to the Castle before we officially signed. So my first Castle was probably 96.
That was your first Castle.
and after we were finished, like after my record deal and full publishing deal with him was done, I still went to the Castle a couple times, and he just published the songs that I did there. So it was always very friendly, and he welcomed me, and he gave me opportunities that not a lot of other people were in a position to offer,
Sounds great.
Yeah.
No, it does. Yeah. And people may be watching the podcast going like, all right, enough of Miles Copeland, for crying out loud. But hey, it's my show. She hit a nerve. I loved it. I like Miles. I believed who he was when I saw Bring on the Night, because I saw him in a, with the one about Sting starting his new band. And he had a memorable scene where he's like laying out the line.
I know. He never did that with me. I was like, Miles, why are you like only showing that side? Like he wasn't all thorns, but that's what we saw in that movie.
Yeah. Well, there's, when the cameras are on, you may ham up your personality a tiny bit. So
it's funny that's the side of it that he chose to ham up. Like,
well, I used to think that about Stewart. He had Stewart is the same, he had that, when I see him now and, I have more respect for him today, even more, because I always just thought he was just bombastic as well. Everybody was arrogant. Sting was arrogant. Everybody was arrogant,
Right.
People change. They grow up,
Yeah. He's a total sweetheart and humble. And
oh, he's great. Thank you. Thank you for letting me, have a little personal time there. Talking. That's what my show is. Hey, when I don't write down notes, this is the kind of thing I do. The little random thoughts coming through here. Hopefully it's about songwriting, Yeah. Let's see. Tell me a little bit about the album. So that way you can't accuse me of not talking about it. I love this thing.
Thank you.
Maybe I'm not intelligent enough to pick up on every little thing that you're because you know what? I'm more aesthetic. I love to listen to the way things are composed or produced. Mm-hmm. And then I that's why I'm saying so a lot of times there's an effect on your voice, but your voice is spot on beautiful. So I like how you has this always been your style, or is it just like a new thing with this record?
I mean, I think if you listened to all of the records, you would know that they're me through all of the records. It's not like a big shift. I feel like this one is owning my true range, maybe more than the other ones. Like I'm just letting it be low. Like I'm not trying to like rise above and hit those high notes. I'm like, yeah, I'm just not going to write those high notes. I want to kind of hang out in the basement for a while. And my voice, I like that it can go lower than a lot of females that I know. And like, I'm going to kind of hang out there.
I did notice that, but as it goes on, I noticed that you are hitting, you go a little higher on it, and it's, and when you do, it gets a little intense. You do a nice job with it. So,
see, if I save it, I can use it for that kind of, extra layer.
So when did you get started on the thing? How long has this project been, in the works?
Yeah. So I moved to Nashville early 19. I got settled in and moved into the house that you're seeing now, in April, and started making that, started to
excuse me,
look at the songs. No, it's okay. Look at the songs that I already had that I thought I wanted to put on the next album, and then started thinking about what kind of song do I want to fill in the rest of the album. And then, so with about half of the album, probably in the middle of 19, I started writing for what I thought were those, kind of holes in the fabric. Like, okay, well, I need something like this, or I really want to tell this story and I don't have a song that's already telling that story. So I'm going to focus on that.
Yeah.
So I started doing that, got all the songs together, went into the studio, I want to say December of 19, because I got it done just in time. So I tracked at a great place here in Nashville called Resistor Studios.
Oh, okay. I heard of it.
With live humans, real drums, real bass, real electric guitar. My very good buddy Joshua Grange is a great electric guitar player, steel guitar player, and he's the owner of the studio, and he engineered it while he was doing his electric parts. So he had the drums and the bass going on in the main room, and then he's here engineering, playing.
That's a guy who loves his music and loves making it. Yeah.
Oh, and he's just such a magic maker. Like, he's just such a musical guy. Anything that he touches, and I was in the booth playing, reference whatever, acoustic or piano, and doing my reference vocal there. And I had, I had a plan for everything. I produced it, and I had a plan, here's the vibe of it, Let's see if he eats the pillow. Hold on.
you can see what's going on behind you. I got
Oh
you.
man, I might have to put him outside. He's just
That's
on
okay.
fire.
He's not vocal. He's not yelling or anything. So
Okay.
good.
Okay. So yeah, we tracked it there, which I love. That's my favorite part of it. It's like humans making music, and we took everything, 5 or 6 times. We got to kind of, we got to kind of push and pull. Like, I love this about it. Why don't we break it down early here? Why don't we go hog wild at the very end?
Yeah.
We got to try, all of those things. And I had the extra advantage of once we get all of the basic tracks done, I get to take those files back to my home studio where you're seeing now and edit the hell out of them if I want. Although, the performances were all like awesome. But if I love there were plenty of times where I loved the first half of take 4 and the last half of take 6. So I was like,
right. You can cut them together if you like.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And I got to do like vocals and acoustics and synths and piano and Wurlitzer and a couple of electrics and just like all that kind of, final layer. I got to do all that here off the clock.
That sounds great.
I love it.
It's it's the art of making the music and you're right in the thick of it. This is what you love to do.
Yeah.
You said humans making music as opposed to what other scenario? I mean, were you used to doing something a different way, or is this just like, it was nice to get in the studio again and do things?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of other scenarios. Like when it's not an album, there are definitely times where like, we program the drums. Like it's not going to be a real guy, or we do it.
Yeah, click track, or it would be actually going to
click.
tape. Yeah,
click to Pro Tools, but then my mix engineer Ryan Hewitt ran everything over to analog, so it has the compression of the tape, but that happened afterwards, which is probably a secret I shouldn't have shared.
No, it's fine. Well, I'll share something with you because I loved. I don't know how you are on making demos or making your own songs on with a Pro Tools or whatever. I'll ask you about that in a second. But I'm used to doing stuff on my own. I can create the entire thing with all kinds of instruments, and then I want somebody to play them with me. And a lot of times I can never get the drummer because I just don't know how to mic these drums. I need somebody to do it. Help me with that.
Yeah, that's a beast.
Yeah, it really is tough. It's easier than it sounds. And when you can get somebody that can do it, treat them like gold because
exactly. Yeah.
Because especially if they have their own mics to do, if I'm not having to pay for all those mics to put on the thing. Right. But I've noticed that there's one way it'll sound, and I can program the drums and with hardware and everything. It sounds just like it should, but it's artificial. I want something now. Could I have? It's like Steely Dan. Can I get somebody that can actually play what I just programmed in there?
Right. It's just where there has like some like air in it, but also even if it's real, and this isn't like a slam on this at all, because this is an extremely valuable thing, especially now when humans can't really be, in a room together. There have been many times where like I'll send the song out to the drummer, and then I send it out to, the bass player if I don't play bass. But if I want somebody to like really play bass, I'm going to send it out. But the feeling of having us all in the room in real time playing off of each other, that is the thing that I love. So even if you get the real instrument, it's not quite the same as when you're looking at each other and you can say in real time, like, you know what? Let's not use your cymbals on this song. Just like little things that can show up. And like, I kind of like the darker snare, all that stuff adds up to be exactly what you want. And you can experiment in real time too. You know what? Take that away. Let's, not fix it in the mix later, but I mean, like, let's not do that this time. Let's try it again. Yeah. And then like, oh, thanks for trying that. I was wrong. I want it back. Yeah. There you go. All that stuff. You can do that. My bad. Right. You were right. Sorry. Let's do it again. No, that's wonderful to hear that. Cause now when you're saying, you would send a track or, send it to the drummer and they sends it back. How recently
can you trace that back? Because there was a time when I was doing this, was probably about 20 years ago, and we would, internet was just basically becoming something where you could start sending large files over to people, and
Right.
it was tough. I mean, was it always pretty easy for you to do what you just said? Send the track to the drummer and then.
Yeah, I've been doing that for a while.
Yeah,
and
so it's been easy. Yeah.
Yeah, or just send it over to, whoever I'm working with, the co-writer.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to put another guitar on there? Yeah. So like even what program I have or what they have, fortunately hasn't really mattered for a long time, because, you just render your individual WAV file and you just upload it. And I've been using Hightail for years for the big files. And it's just like,
yeah,
it's been pretty easy for a while.
Just sounds like, I always like to hear how real pros are doing this kind of stuff. And sometimes it's just like, what the amateur guys or the DIY people are doing is that, it's just on a different level, and some really great talent too that you're working with. So I'm glad that you can get all in the same room and do that.
Yeah, well, that's just for I mean, it felt like an extremely special thing. Like, I'm making an album, so I'm gonna splurge for this.
Yeah, and you got the tapes or whatever to the recording, so that's even great.
Yeah, and when I say that it's easy to fly the files around, that part's easy. I'm not taking anything away from it. It's still hard as hell to like get a great sound on your drums, and then to like, get a mix that you love, like all of that stuff, the before and the after. But at least at least the flying around and the sharing of files can be done.
I don't want to pull you down into the vortex, because I get obsessive with my recordings, and I go, I've labored over this for almost a year, and it still doesn't sound right. Why can't I get this thing to sound proper? Is it the song, or is it just me being a stickler for having a almost perfection, which is tough, because do you find that you're not a perfectionist, that you can just go forward and do stuff like that?
I don't know. I can get pretty detail oriented. I'm sure I irritate some folks along the way. Like, everything's great, but that hi-hat has to come down. Just give me like 2 dB. It's just, now it's all I hear. So can you create? Yeah.
Well, then you render it and then you listen back to it. Like, I used to do stuff like, put it on a CD, put it in the car. This was back when I was playing CDs in the car. And then I go like, oh, I thought it was perfect. But now that I'm hearing it on this player, it has a different flavor to it. So, yeah.
Well, I definitely welcome the, the participation of other people. I think when I really like spiral out is when the song has never made it outside of my hands. Like, I wrote it, I recorded it, now I'm trying to mix it. It's like, maybe it's time for somebody else's ears, So yeah. I am a perfectionist, I think, but I'm not precious about not sharing. Like, I want, somebody who mixes all day long and they are obsessed with mix hardware. I'm not obsessed with that hardware and software and all of those plugins.
Yeah.
If they are, maybe they're the ones that should take this song now. So, and here we go.
There's Louie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before, let me take a breather before I talk about these songs. But do a little show and tell besides Louie, because Louie's going around the room looking at different. He's getting on these chairs that you have in there.
He's getting on my nerves.
You got a little candle going in the back. Something tranquil, and
I got my little ode to California. I don't know if you can see. Right.
Yeah. There's a little throw pillow on your chair that says the state flag of California. Right.
Flag, and then. I don't know if you can see the cassette.
Yeah. No, now I see that you're. Yeah, it's blocked, but I can see it now. Yeah, the little black cassette with red and white. That's great, and a couple cool little posters. And what's the thing right there in the middle behind you? That.
Well, all of these 3 are for sound. So these are like the burlap, baffles.
That works as a baffle just fine, huh?
Yeah, these 2 are baffles. The coffee homage. Yeah. And the thing in the middle is also for sound. It's that, diffuser, acoustic.
very stylish way to do that. So yeah, you fooled me on the coffee things,
Oh,
because
thanks.
I wouldn't have thought it was burlap worked well with that, huh? So you keep it
Yeah,
up.
yes, I think so. Yeah.
So anyway, Mercy Rising is a great album. Because I don't, just like any other album, I'll play it all the way through and I go, oh wow. What's nice is that, the first 5 or 6 tracks, it's hard for me not to. I listen to it twice in a row. I love to do that just to. Once I'll get the feel of it, and then I'll go back and I'll listen a little bit more to lyrics. And I'm the king of misheard lyrics, so since you don't provide, do the people that are going to buy this in the future, are they going to have liner notes or lyrics or anything like that?
So starting on May 7th, the lyrics will be posted on the website, and
that's great.
Vinyl is en route. Having that pressed, there's I'm not sure what the cause of it, but vinyl is like well behind schedule. So the vinyl probably won't be done till like June or so. And apparently vinyl is behind schedule for everybody. Like Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
He was supposed to get his, and and it's like, I don't know, 6 weeks later, something like that. So if he can't make it happen early, I'm probably not going to make it happen. But the vinyl will have lyrics on it. Yeah.
It's interesting when people order the vinyl. Do you feel that's a good thing that people will take to that? Because a lot of people are ordering the vinyl.
I hope so. I'm hooked on vinyl now.
It's nice, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. My very first vinyl was pressed with my duo, Roscoe and Etta. I'm trying to think of when that was. 2018? God, that feels like so long.
I saw a little bit about that. I thought Roscoe and Etta, I thought it was going to be a boy and a girl, but it's 2 girls.
It's 2 of the guitars. It's actually named after the guitars that we used to write songs. So yeah, it ended up being, yeah. But yeah,
I'm easily fooled on that stuff. So
the first time that either one of us pressed vinyl was for that. And it was just a couple of years ago now, which is amazing for me. But now everything, I feel like I'm just hooked now. Like I'm gonna just do vinyl. Like no matter how fiscally irresponsible it is, I'm gonna press vinyl. And I love to listen to it too. I have like a vinyl station upstairs.
Well, it's just cool to see it, and you look at the record; it's got a label on it. Hey, there it is. It says MAIA SHARP on it, or Roscoe and Etta, like you said.
It feels different. There's a warmth to it. That, in fact,
it's the way we grew up, before you had cassettes to put in your car and stuff. Yeah.
Right. So there's probably, it's probably like a smell thing. It's like you associate it with that.
Yeah.
But there's also like real sonic changes. Like when I was going to press vinyl, so I sent the album over to my mastering lab and it came back one way. And then I sent it back. I was like, okay, I want to do vinyl now. And he remastered it for vinyl, and it's warmer and it's fuller. And I'm like, Jim, this is how I always wanted to sound. He's like, yeah, but this is, there's one way for CD and there's another way for vinyl. So this
Did you do it in a hi-fi type of format? Or is it just, the warmth comes from just.
It's the moves that he's making. He just did a different, he put less of a limiter on it. So it's not as crunched.
Okay. That's good. Oh, I love that.
Natural thing. And
you don't know how much I like that. So this is
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for that. So
I feel that nowadays everything's crunched, and that's sort of like, I feel like it's a lost, the old days are a lost art, but because I guess that's just the way they want to put it on, radio or streaming every now and it's
exactly.
just,
like it has
too compressed,
smashed that hard to, I guess, to compete with the other song that you just heard. It's like, it can't be like everybody's up here and now your song's down there, because it put all of the limiters on it. So now everybody's up here.
you and I were talking about Sting a few minutes ago, and I noticed that when Sting put out an album, was it like 5 years ago, he covered his own songs, and it was just strange to hear it, in a compressed vocal with Sting. As I go, this doesn't sound like, Hugh Padgham or whatever, doing the engineering on it. It's all completely different. And I guess, you got to keep with the times if you're going to sound like that. He likes to be new and different and do his own thing. But I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it was, it's still his voice and everything. It's just that, why does it sound like that? Can't we fix it just a little bit? Take that limiter off, as you were saying? That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because the moves that you want are just less. It's not any like it's not any changes really. It's just like, let's get more real Sting in this. Let's
Yeah.
just turn these things down and chill out. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how to describe it, but it's, all the low ends come up and the high ends come down. It's like, squeezing it, and all of it's in there. There's no dimension to the vocal anymore. It just changes.
Well,
or any of the instruments for that matter. That kind of stuff is just weird to me.
it can be. And then it's like, how are you listening? Like your car, your earbuds,
That's what they tell me. It's like people are listening in their earbuds or AirPods and all that, and it's got to go. They're on their phones and such. So it's all got to sound right on that. So
well, I guess the lesson is that you have to write a song that's so good that it doesn't matter.
Look at all the complications that you got to go through just to make something good.
Just make a good song.
But in the end, it's something that the stuff that you're creating, like on this album, is all stuff that you just wanted to make. Regardless of you got a couple of singles. What would of them be? Like the When the World Doesn't End? Is that one of the singles that you're putting out?
Yep. That was the last single that came out just a couple weeks ago.
Okay, and it's already been out. Okay.
And Whatever We Are was the first one.
Okay, another good one.
Well, thank you. The next one.
Sorry, I'm talking too much. I'm complimenting too many times through your thing.
Are you kidding? There's no such thing.
Okay.
Never again, or just not today. The first of our kind, or the oldest cliche. Right down the middle, or missed it by far. I love you, whatever we are. Kicking the habit, or up in the dose. Two airplanes flying uncomfortably close. Leftover light from a long gone star. I love you, whatever we are. And we've been it all. Still don't have a clue where you are to me, what I am to you. Making me better, and it's breaking my heart. Loving someone forever, whatever we are. Stuck in the memories, we're trying to move on. Changing the station, we're singing along. In the back of my mind, or the back of your car. I love you, whatever we are. And I'm not gonna stop when it puts up a fight. I'll just learn how to see you in another new life. We've been it all. Still don't have a clue what you are to me, what I am to you. It's making me better, and it's breaking my heart. Loving someone forever, whatever we are. You'll make me better, and you'll break my heart. And I'll love you forever, whatever we are.
The next one's going to be You'll Know Who Knows You. That's coming out middle of this month.
Super. All these things. Oh, you know what? Backburner. You were doing a little tease on that earlier when you were doing the sound check.
That's the fourth single.
I dig that one too. When it comes to lyric writing, which is something that's sometimes a challenge, but I always take to the kind of style when you're saying that, put you on the back burner, you set the place on fire. I love those little, either not metaphors, but you're sort of painting a picture and having a little fun with your phrases and giving some double meaning to things, and that's kind of what I like to do all the time. And
cool. I try to layer it.
Yeah, you do.
I just couldn't keep my cool with you dancing around, and there's still champagne, and I still want you, and maybe I was hoping this is what you do. It's a hell of a way to say, turn the flame up higher. When I put you on the back burner, you set the place on fire.
And a lot of this stuff is sort of not double meaning, but it's sort of cloaked in, you're really talking about, a situation or a person or something like that when you're really.
Yeah, it's usually a person.
Yeah. Well, for instance, you have a song called Things to Fix. I take it that's not like a repair to-do list for repairing things in the house. That's something else entirely, isn't it?
Yeah, that's about when you use the things that have to be fixed in the house as a way to, as your excuse for not fixing the thing that really needs to be fixed. So like, I really need to apologize to you and figure out how to help you to forgive me. But, look at that. The drawer needs to be oiled and the window doesn't close and there's water dripping there. And so it's the like.
I'll almost get to that first list, number one on the list, but I'm going to skip down a couple.
I keep on skipping it for the stuff that isn't as important. Yeah.
No, that's where the rubber meets the road. You have a good style of writing things, and that's. I'm not saying that's the way I do it, but you write the kind of songs I wish I had done, because those. That's and you probably relate to that. You have probably. People that you idolize, that's probably a bad word for it, but you was like, I wish that was my song. That sounds like so much like me, and yet you wrote it before I did it.
Yeah. I often say, like, God, if I just had a little more time, I could have gotten it.
Well, you did.
I can't do it.
Do me a favor. Explain When the World Doesn't End. And you did. First of all, who's PJ Pacifico? I don't know.
Great singer, songwriter, friend.
Because they're doing, or she's doing that, or he. Yeah. He's singing with the background with you, right? As you in the chorus or whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty much a duet. Like, we're singing unison for the first verse. He goes into harmony for the chorus. He stays in harmony for the rest of it. But I think he's there. Like, I think he's singing pretty much the whole song with me. And we wrote that together about 1.5 years ago. And that was about, I think he started sharing a story about running into an ex and like all of the acrobatics that he took to like make sure that he didn't see her on the street, And it made me think of, wasn't somebody in my past that I was like afraid to see, but it was like, oh my God, what would I do if we found each other and like in the same room all of a sudden? Like, I don't know what I would do, So we had this, we just kind of started down this path. It also led us, so much of a writing session is just like, sort of a therapy session too. So we started sharing about how we can take like, a speculative situation and just like take it all the way into the doomsday of it. Like, oh, wouldn't it be terrible? Oh my God, everything would fall apart. And like, what if that didn't happen? Like, what if you're just like, hey, and things were all right? So we took the angle of like, what if, the world like doesn't actually end? What if it's okay? Like, you have to consider that angle also. Like it doesn't always go wrong. So let's leave a little opening for the chance that it might go fine. So that's what the song's about.
I used to wish I could be somewhere else. It's a big city in a small town. I put a little makeup on to reinvent myself, checking every subway car to see if you are there. I used to dance around the circle of your friends, take the longer way I know you wouldn't take, and no narrow one-way streets and no dead ends. So if I saw you, I wouldn't have to go through it. We didn't see the corner, we were coming around. This is going down, it's going down now. 4, 3, 2, 1, and no Armageddon. There's still a moon, there's still a sun, and we're still breathing. It's nothing like the nightmare, it's nothing like the cold stare. We imagine we'll be there. So what do you do when, oh, the world doesn't end? Oh, when the world doesn't end. I think of all the stupid things we did, building up that wasted emotion. And we ran away like scared little kids. We ran out of words that nobody would have heard anyway. We didn't see the corner, we were coming around. This is going down, that's going down now. 4, 3, 2, 1, and no Armageddon. There's still a moon, there's still a sun, and we're still breathing. It's nothing like the nightmare, it's nothing like the cold stare. We imagine we'll be there. So what do you do when, oh, when the world doesn't end? Oh, 4, 3, 2, 1, and no Armageddon. There's still a moon, still a sun, and we're still breathing. Yeah, it's nothing like the nightmare, it's nothing like the cold stare. We imagine we'll be there. So what do you do then? What do you do then? What do you do then?
I had no idea it was about that, to tell you the truth. See how I was going to say how stupid I am, but I just get to listening to it, and sometimes I'll take it literally what you're saying. I thought maybe this was like I almost wrote, because I had written, or I was on the verge of writing something when, just as this whole thing was coming to a close at the end of the year, I go, I heard somebody made these jokes about what if the old New Year's Rockin' Eve is going to happen. It's 11:59 and 59 seconds, and all of a sudden, what if it goes to 14 o'clock, and it just keeps going and going and going and just doesn't end. I had a similar thing I wanted to write about that, because I was thinking it was more like one of those dystopian things where, like in those movies where they go underground in a bomb shelter and they bet everything on black. The world's probably going to be destroyed. We're going to have to start all over. And then they come out and everything's okay.
Everything was okay. Exactly.
Yeah, it was all in our head.
That was more what it was about.
Yeah. But it was more on the scale of what you were talking about with a relationship or like that kind of thing. So
it was definitely a relationship song, but it was chosen in part. It was chosen as the single because the times right now feel like, at least the world I knew some of it ended, like
it is. It feels like it anyway.
Yeah. So there was a little bit like, okay, maybe 2021 we can wake up, and it didn't. And maybe we
almost
can
feel like a plant that you really
rebuild.
love that is starting to die and you don't know how to save it. But
Yeah, and
maybe
like
maybe you
season
can get a
later-
new plant. Yeah.
Right. Or it turns out that it was, only sleeping. Like I've had
Right.
some like, oh, I killed it, and then there's like a tomato. Like what happened?
That's the Charlie Brown Christmas. I killed the tree,
I
and then they
know.
came and they fixed it. So, yeah,
It's great.
there's a lesson in there that wasn't even really the message of that. But you could have all your friends around, and they can sort of renew your spirit in humanity. Because I think a lot of us, if you get bogged down, with a worldview, or you just you watch too much news on TV, and you start to
Easy to
see
do.
how people are getting tribalized. I'm not a political guy, but I just watch how everybody's. I wanted to write some kind of song that was about that, because there was a period where, like, when is all that backbiting going to stop? I think we're addicted to that stuff. There are a lot of us who don't involve themselves, but it's so hard to shut that part of
Right.
the world away from you. And that's what I kind of write. I wanted to write something like that. It was like, but then the feeling passes. I go, what? I may write something too angry. I wanted to be a little bit more poignant, like you are. It's interesting to try to get your feelings out. Like you said, a therapy session.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And
that's-
sometimes your own song that you're writing alone is your therapy session.
I tend to cure my own depression or my anger. Some, guys, a lot of times testosterone, we'll just throw something at the wall or something and break something, and it's over with. I'm done. I'm good.
Right.
So
Yeah.
maybe you could tell me a little bit about, you said You'll Know Who Knows You is a
Yeah, that's going to be the next single. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that one's about noticing all the little subtleties about someone else and letting them know, you know what? I heard when you said that. I know that you don't like this and that you do like that. And then, it's taking a sensual view and like, I'm going to prove this to you. I'm going to prove that I know you. I'm going to prove that I know what you want, and you'll know tomorrow that I know you.
I know to close the window and put a record on down the hall. You said once you like the echo of the hardwood, and you don't care much for candles or a body like a Barbie doll, or feeling misunderstood. If you're wondering, you won't be wondering tomorrow. Slow dance, slow in the kaleidoscope, glow of a lava lamplight. Thermostat down, sip a crown, and if I get this right, you'll know who knows you tonight. I won't shy away from your shadows. We'll tell our story to the walls. You won't have to tell me how to spend my time. Heartbeat saying everything I need to hear, loud like a cannonball. We'll go where only I can take you. Slow dance, slow in the kaleidoscope, glow of a lava lamplight. Thermostat down, sip a crown, and if I get this right, you'll know who knows you tonight. You'll know who knows
like that whole title. It's like, you know that I know that you know that I know. It's one of those things. I had to almost look at how many words are in there. Very, very nice. Like I said, first half, if there was a side one, I'd be like, oh, side one is fantastic. Now I got to flip it over, but maybe I'll listen to side one again, because all these tracks are great in a row. The way
when the vinyl comes, there will be a side A.
Yeah, side A. That's what it'll probably be. Mercy Rising is the title track, and that's the opening track. And what was nice is that, every song has a little bit of a personality. It does not. These tracks do not all sound the same, and that's kind of nice too. Mercy Rising is a little mysterious. It sounds very orchestral, for all the musicians that you have. It sounds like you have more than what I'm actually hearing in there.
Well, I did send out to get all of the strings down there. So that was something that didn't happen in the room with us.
Oh, okay.
Added those later. I think the pandemic had already started, or that maybe that's just the way he likes to work. But so I sent it to a great player here who does everything, like bass, cello, viola, violin, and sent me back, I think, 30 tracks. So I basically got a one-man, symphony. He did
it all himself. That's wonderful. Oh, good. So then maybe the budget was a little bit better, because I know a girl that did that, and she sent for like a full string section, maybe about 16 pieces or something, and
that's expensive.
That was a big bill. Yeah.
And Chris he's just so good. I mean, he did the arrangement. I asked for a couple little changes. He rearranged it like in a day. And I knew that I wanted that one to be cinematic. In fact, I think that's the one on the record that I had a pretty good sense of the production before the song was even finished, finished being written. So I knew like the language needed to also be cinematic. So it was,
you took the word I was going to use. It's very, very theatrical, very cinematic. It's ethereal, and at the same time, it's I almost, like, in my mind, I'm picturing like sepia tones. It's very like a little movie's being played right now. You're listening.
Perfect. That's exactly what.
If they made a music video, it'd be very, very epic. I'd love to see.
Yeah. $50,000 later, we could make
a
music video.
Don't let the stranger tell you what to do. You're doing just fine on your own.
Thank you.
Yeah, I could go over every single one of these, but you do throw in a bonus track, which is nice. Is that going to be apart from the vinyl, or is it something like another?
That's on the vinyl as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you get 12. You get 12 songs on this then.
Yes. Right? Yes, and you get the kind of, I'm going for that kind of old school hidden track vibe. So after song 11, there's like a 15-second space, and then you get that, the last song, which was done in a different way, and it was added at the very end. So I wrote that for a great podcast called SongWriter, and I say it like that because the W is uppercase. So it's one word except song and then a capital W writer. And
just like mine, except it's StrongWriter with a W that's uppercase.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to chime in for that. Sorry.
Right. So it's easy because you're already on your page, and then you just you take the T and the R out, and you're there.
Well, notice I had to insert myself into your story. I didn't mean to. Go ahead.
Well, it's this great format. Where he pairs a writer with a songwriter, and the writer tells a story or reads a piece from a book or something, and the songwriter writes a song in response.
It's a great concept. I like that.
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, just anything that'll mix the mediums like that is just, I don't know. I feel like that should happen more often.
So much of songwriting is storytelling. If you happen to be that kind of songwriter, it's compelling.
Yeah, and it's really cool and challenging to be offered somebody else's story. Like, okay, you're used to writing your own stories. Write about this. Write a song about this. So I had to like really, really get inside. And my author was Cheryl Strayed, who I love. and she read a piece from a book that I had for years called Tiny Beautiful Things, and it's a collection of her columns. So she read one of them, and I wrote a song in response, and this is the song. And the podcast itself is going to air right around the release of the album, so it's going to be out in May. And so you can hear Cheryl reading her piece, and you can hear the full production of the song, but you can also hear that on the album.
There you go. That's a great thing. Good.
Yeah, it's such a cool thing.
You have your guitar with you. Are you going to grace us with a song soon? Or that'd be wonderful to hear. Yeah.
What do you think? Well,
because I don't know what we've talked about. So many. You can pick whatever you like. I like what you were doing. Backburner is a great one.
Yeah, we talked about that one.
But if you want to do something that's more current to what you're releasing, I mean, you did When the World Doesn't End was just a week ago, right? You said. Well,
that one is tough because, PJ's not here.
Yeah, you need a duet. And if I knew the lyrics, I'd do that part. I do PJ's part for you, but
which would sound like right on time for you, but for everybody else,
I know
delayed
exactly
a split second, and they'd be like, "What's going on?"
Plus, I sing like a mental patient. Like when my wife's in the car, she'll listen to me sing lyrics. If I don't know them, then I'll just sing like every other third word is the right one.
So funny. I love what you said about about how you're the king of the misheard lyric. I have used that. So I kind of let myself mishear lyrics, because if you mishear it and you hear something that you think like, oh man, that's such a great lyric. If you look it up and that it turns out you were wrong, that lyric is now up for grabs. And you just your mind just created maybe the beginning of a song for you that you're not actually stealing because your hearing is just going, or whatever happened, or you just weren't paying attention. Yeah. So it's not all bad.
The silence is so I can let you give you a word in edgewise. I didn't mean to keep cutting you off with things.
No, that's okay.
Maybe we can. So since you grabbed it already, maybe we can do the song now, and we'll talk later about it. Maybe you can tell me a little bit about Backburner, if that's one you're going to do.
Sure. I think I'm going to do Backburner. My Rosconetta partner, Anna Scholze, and I wrote this one.
Loved it. Thank you. Oh,
thank you.
I'm all set.
I try to put you on the back burner, let you simmer on low, while I tended to the party and the overflow, so you wouldn't boil over. I'd give a little stir, maybe take a little taste just to make sure. It's a hell of a way to say, turn the flame up higher. When I put you on the back burner, you set the place on fire. The party got awkward, I hope I didn't let them down. I just couldn't keep my cool with you dancing around, and there's still champagne and I still want you, and maybe I was hoping this is what you do. It's a hell of a way to say, turn the flame up higher. When I put you on the back burner, you set the place on fire. On fire. My eye, the edge of my mind couldn't hold you anymore. A little patience, a little time is all I was asking for. I had a dream that you waited for me, but like a lot of dreams go, I woke up in the ash of the afterglow. It's a hell of a way to pay for my desire, and it's a hell of a way to say, turn the flame up higher. I try to put you on the back burner,
put you on the back burner. Oh, when I put you on the back burner, you set the place on fire. On fire. You set the place on fire.
That's great.
Thank you.
That is wonderful. What was the instrument you played? It looks like a Gibson, like a hummingbird or something. What is that?
This is the Parlor, the double O.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah, I see it now a little bit closer. You got the pick guard and everything. It's a nice nice finish on it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. He's a little smaller than the average bear, but he he's strong, he's powerful, and yeah, he's been kind of my main guy for a couple of years now.
Yeah. So you're comfortable with that.
Yeah. So yeah, that song's about just you think that you can set an idea or an issue or thinking about a person, you think you can set that aside and deal. I think it's actually kind of related to things to fix. Like, you think you can just put that over here for now and it'll still be there and everything will be fine. Yeah. But no, it's gonna bubble up, it's gonna burn you, it's gonna come back around. So you might as well address it now. You know?
I buy into the scenario. I understand. Yeah, your stuff is. I always thought everything is really deep, but it's really, you're just dressing it up in some fancy words, which is what a lot of songs are great that are.
I'm just trying to find some universal human experiences that I have experienced firsthand. So I can tell a true thing, and hopefully people will relate to it. And if they translate it in some other way, like if they think it means a little something else and that little something else is more, applies more to their life, then rock on. I'm fine. You don't have to take it exactly as I said it or exactly as I meant it. Yeah. You can take it however you need it. And
some people will and some people won't. That's the nice thing about exactly. Everybody will take it have a different interpretation of what you wrote. That's why sometimes you don't have to explain, but I like when you give a little bit of the background, because now I go, oh, now it has a little bit more of a
sure.
There's a wider dimension than I thought to, but it's still basically you I guess these are autobiographical things, or are you sort of exaggerating stories of your life, or
no? No, the last couple of years there's been a lot of changes and a lot of stuff to slog through, and
it's there for all us to see and hear. So that's good.
Writing this record, like we said earlier, was a part of my therapy through it. Really, my main therapy. I didn't see a therapist. It was just all through the music. I'm gonna get this out, And my co-writers are huge in that, and getting to share these experiences with them. And
well, that's the nice thing about it. You're saying a lot of the stuff is your experience, but you had co-writers. Are they just sort of helping you along as you get, maybe do they help you with a certain verse or something that?
Well, they're helping through the whole thing. There's some where I brought in a pretty good chunk of it, and I had the title or whatever. Not all of them, but I usually I select the co-writer if I have an idea that I have a pretty good idea of where I want it to go, and I only have a verse and a chorus, or I only have a verse and I need to know what's next. I select the co-writer. These are all people that I have written with before. I select the one that I'm okay, she's going to get me where I need to go, or they are going to get me. This is going to be, So
yeah, it worked.
And often they experienced it also. It's not just them writing, helping me write, my story. They have some firsthand.
Well, that's why each one seems to have a different recipe. You have different people involved in it. Then it's not just you writing one song. You had a little bit of an assistance, sort of.
Oh yeah, and I don't even think of it as them assisting me. It's absolutely a co-write. We're in this,
You made a synergy together, or whatever. Yeah,
absolutely synergy, and I selected them for those reasons. Mindy Smith was my Mercy Rising partner, and I remember bringing it to her, and I knew that she would feel it. I knew that we would be of one mind, for the fun of it.
Oh, it's good. It's like, sorting out, you get a good feeling of who would be good for what. And if it works, it works. So
absolutely.
That's the way. That bonus track we were talking about, it's called Always Good to See You. Now that I know it's going to be part of it, it's not just like a hidden track or anything like that. That's another one that seemed to have like, I couldn't get out of my head the gas station coffee that you're putting in that song, and the
the gas station coffee is in Missions. That's in the other
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what?
No, that's okay.
Let's scrub what my thought. But yeah, that's the song I was talking about. Missions. Good grief.
Yeah. No,
Never.
okay.
So always good to see you though. Since I mentioned that one, is that an optimistic one, or is there a little bit of pain in that one too, or?
Well, all of the above.
Yeah.
I mean,
sometimes every once in a while you throw a little jab in there. Oh, I guess it's not a happy song sometimes,
Well, it's about, so it's written in response to a piece that she wrote about seeing her mom who passed away when Cheryl was in her 20s, seeing her mom in her life through the years, and how her mom shows up in things,
Okay.
She shows up in a dress that she bought at a yard sale, and now Cheryl's little girl is wearing that dress, and she sees her mom. Just all of these other ways that people that are no longer with us can show up.
Oh, that's a beautiful subject to write a song about. Yeah, I like that.
Oh my God, you guys, the piece that she wrote, that I wrote this song in response to, is called The Ordinary Miraculous.
Mm-hmm.
But the entire book, man, Tiny Beautiful Things, I loved it anyway. I asked for her, I asked.
Oh, so you were aware and ready for that. So.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Ben Arthur is the creator and the host of the podcast, and he's a friend from years ago, and he was like, so hey, do you want to be a part of this? Yeah, the format sounds, really cool. What authors would you like? And I gave him a very short list, and Cheryl was at the top of it, and he got her.
Oh, that's great. Oh, good.
It was great.
Well, since I made that blunder with Missions, at least now maybe I proved to you I did listen to your record, because it's.
Oh yeah, you listen all the way through.
I almost feel it's I owe you respect enough to check out and not just talk about the stuff in the abstract. I mean, I love to hear how something was created, but yeah, Missions had that, and you also had the line about in the passenger seat, like a frame or a picture in a frame like that. Yeah, it's those little techniques that you use in your songwriting. It's that kind of stuff I like to do too. So I appreciate that very much. But the gas station coffee being foul, or whatever you said in there.
Foul, yeah.
Yeah, and you didn't say it once, but you brought it up again. So I go, oh no.
Yeah, that's in the chorus.
There's something going on in this song that you might be upset, or you're reflecting on something that you're trying to get out, or.
Yeah, no, it sucked. That whole.
It's a sucky.
Yeah, it's like an after show drive, basically the middle of the night. Like, you decided to just be a warrior and like not have a hotel in the town of the show. So you're driving back to your other hotel, which is 2 hours away, after the end of a super long day. So it's like 1 o'clock in the morning or 1:30 in the morning, driving back, flying down the road. And the only places open are these like travel centers, and the coffee is foul. Yeah. But you have to drink it or you fall asleep, and so
but it gets the job done, or whatever you said.
It gets the job done, but it's like wretched. But this is what I'm doing, and I'm I
feel that way about coffee in general. Maybe 1 out of 20 cups is a good cup, and otherwise I'm going like, why did I go drink that?
Okay, be careful. You're talking to
are you a coffee connoisseur, an addict, or anything like that?
Yes, and yes, I pull espresso shots all day long. I have an espresso maker upstairs.
Do you do it for the love of the taste, or is it you need to get jacked up for
all
things?
Of it?
Yeah.
I need to wake up, and then I love the taste. Yeah. And like even after I'm wide awake, and I probably shouldn't amp anymore, I probably still have a little bit more because I just love it.
When my buddy and I were doing, he would come over to my place and songwriting, or vice versa. We'd always brew up a pot and we drink it down pretty quick, and we go like, should we make another one? And we had coffee breath all the time. I don't miss that part of it, you know.
Yeah, no, that's not awesome.
That's not, yeah, because, you know, you drink too much of it and then you go like, oh,
yeah,
you start to dry out a little bit. But you know, I guess this is what creative types do, and especially if you're on a mission, so to speak, to get your stuff done, you want to keep that level up. Yeah.
It's also nice to have a punctuation, like, you know, I have never, and I will never smoke. It sounds awful, but people who smoke, like, that's what they can do every hour, whatever you guys like. Yeah. I don't want to do that, but I do like to have something in the day that's like every hour I'm going to get out of my chair and I'm going to go do this, you know, give me a little extra something.
So what, real quickly, your songwriting life, it goes back farther than 97, obviously. What was your songwriting life before you became, you know, professional, I guess is the right word, or not? Yeah.
Well, I went to Cal State University Northridge as a saxophone player. So I started on my musical education was there. Although there was music in the house all the time. My dad is a singer-songwriter, Randy Sharp.
Okay.
And a producer. My mom and dad met in high school. You know, they were singing in a band together. Like, music is just always been around. So I would play instruments around the house, but then saxophone was okay, I'm going to seriously study this. And then about halfway through college, I started writing songs, and I was meeting people in school that were playing around Los Angeles already. I would go see their bands, and then I would approach the writers of the bands that my friends were playing in to see if they wanted to write a song with me. So I co-wrote with my dad early, and then with some people in town, and I just tried to hone the craft, you know.
What was the attraction to doing, was it just, I want to make my own melodies and things like that? Now that I've heard I played charts or whatever from other people, I want to do my own stuff. Is that how it started out?
Yeah, at some point it was like, okay, yeah, now I want to see what I can write. And I started writing like instrumentals, and like, this isn't where my heart is. Like, I grew up on, you know, Bonnie Raitt and Joni Mitchell and Paul Simon. And like, I want to do kind of I want to see if I can do what they're doing, you know.
Your heart showed you the way then. That's good. I
guess so. Yeah. Which is usually the way to get anywhere.
Sometimes it's like a happy accident. You know, do you ever think back on that and go like, how did I, or was it intentional? But I just wondered, how did I ever go from this point to this point? You know, it's sort of an evolution of how you learn and do things, you know, like you couldn't repeat that if you tried, right?
No. And I wouldn't ever try to plan it anymore. Like, I learned somewhere along the way, like, stop your planning. Like, it never, the thing doesn't happen as planned. So let the unusual, unexpected thing happen, and maybe that'll lead you to it. Like, I
think that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, I have to do that. So yeah, it is definitely a heart following thing. Because if you think, first of all, the plan that you made when you're 25 is probably not going to be what you want when you're 45. So let life unfold a little bit, you know? Yeah.
Shows you all the people that you collaborated with, like you were saying that, your songs have been recorded by all these people. You were talking about Cher and Lisa Loeb did one, and Kim Ritchie, Amanda Marshall, Paul Carrick. That's cool. What did he do one of yours?
He did. I wrote with him at one of the Castle retreats. Yeah.
Oh, he was part of that Castle thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's probably seen a Castle or two in his life, being from England, right? Edwin McCain, the Chicks, the Drisha Yearwood, Kathy Mateo. Oh, these are all. Art Garfunkel. I understand that you're still. Are you friends with him to this day?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What was it like getting? Did you have any preconceived, like a perception of him? Like, were you starstruck, or just happy that you got to be in the same, doing the same thing with him? Or
I was probably a little bit of starstruck, but so our first session together, we wrote songs together, and he hadn't written a song before. He had written prose. He had published a book of prose years earlier, but for all of those songs that you've heard him sing, he hadn't written yet. So
right.
there was a little bit of more level playing field, Buddy Monlock and Art and I had the trio, and Buddy and I had written together, and he had been writing for years, but it was Art's first songwriting session.
That's interesting.
So we're intimidated as hell because it's this voice that we've heard all our lives, but he's a little intimidated too because this is a new field for him.
Yeah.
We ended up using some of his prose. We ended up starting a couple of those songs for the album from his prose that he had already written. So he was already a co-writer, like he was already in,
Yeah.
And then we finished it. But yeah,
So you're saying these were like, writings of his and they didn't rhyme and you had to like sort of make songs out of it? And
yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's
a
good challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And then we started a few from scratch. Which his language, his way with language is just fantastic. He's a brilliant, thoughtful.
Yeah.
It's
interesting how you pointed out that he wasn't that he hadn't written stuff because he's such an integral part of that duo.
Oh yeah.
But yet that sort of proved all along what people already knew. Simon was writing all those lyrics, but they wouldn't sound the way you remember them.
Art's voice was making them just fly, and singing with him was probably when the intimidation really hit. Because
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I vividly remember one on one of the songs in the studio. Art wanted to do it live together, unison, and so I had to match him and sing with him at the same time. And like, if I suck, then I wreck the take. It's not like I'm doing my part after,
Yeah.
It was like, okay, I gotta Garfunkel this now.
Yeah, right. Because
I gotta find it.
That part he is good at. He knows what he's doing when it comes to singing and tracking something. Yeah.
Yes.
How far back does this go? What year would roughly this have been?
I'm pretty bad at that, but I want to say
it gets a little fuzzy, right? I understand.
Yeah, 2001 to 2004.
Oh, good. I might have guessed that.
With writing, with the writing, the recording, went on the road for it too.
There was also a list of the people you collaborate with. I just a couple people jumped out with Carole King's on that list. Jules Shear is the one I said. I just had him on the show in December.
Oh, cool! I love him. I miss him.
What a great guy! Yeah, and he's funny too. He's a little antagonistic sometimes. If I said something, he'll call me on it, and if I don't have a proper thought, you get a little slow on the uptake. He's right there to
I love that.
A great sense of humor though. I love the guy. Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah, but he's an example of one of those songwriters where he just creates the stuff, and if somebody wants to, recover it like Cyndi Lauper did, and the Bangles did his, right. and some who's the other one? And there was, his stuff was just out there, and take it, and
they did.
Yeah, it wasn't his. He didn't have any control over that. They just did it. So that's a testament to your songs are good enough that people will. We'll take to them, and that's what I was thinking. Maybe your stuff was like that too, because a lot of people have covered or sung your songs, and I thought that was that's got to be a testament that they like your stuff.
And just such a compliment. And Jules is such a brilliant writer, so I could totally see how that happened. Maybe one of my cuts has been like that, where it was just kind of out there and somebody heard it, but the other ones have been like writing with them or like really trying to get the song in front of them somehow through their producer, through their.
I have video evidence of us talking, and it's like I shortly before that I had lost my father, so I had been the shows I was doing were like a little below par what I'm used to doing. But I was trying to get myself back into doing things, and I was doing a lot of rambling and things that I had to cut out of the thing, but he was really patient with me and everything, and I enjoyed his stories, and he would usually go, "Do you really want to hear this stuff?" And I go, "Yeah, I love to hear the old days." And
that's funny.
Yeah, and then it was like I didn't even realize that I knew more than I did about him and his career in the '80s, because I go, "That was your song? Oh shoot!" So it's fun talking to you about all this stuff, and I hope you didn't mind me being a gadfly going from place to place in the conversation.
No, it's like an actual conversation.
That's what I try to do. I mean,
I love it.
Maybe it's not the first time, but people really love the way I do it. But I can't, I got to have some kind of discipline in the way I. That's why I had to put I have to put the track list in front of me so I don't forget to tell you the proper song. You know, like Missions, like I screwed that up, but
okay.
Everything is.
I'm actually really glad that you brought up that line. I was really proud of that line. It took me a long time to find
Which one, the gas station coffee or the other thing I was talking about?
The gas station coffee is foul.
Yeah.
It took me a while. I was like, I think I have a bunch of rewrites on that. Like,
well, I certainly did get the message. I mean, that does paint a little bit of a mental picture that now I didn't even taste the coffee and I'm already in agreement with you. It's bad.
There you go.
This gas station coffee is foul, but it's just to get us where we're going. And at least I'll be finishing one of these missions of mine. I guess letting you go is tomorrow's mission.
Just to sum up, what a great album, and thank you for doing Backburner live. It did come through after we got the little kinks rolled out there. Sometimes I just leave that part in so you could see that, you know, hey, we're working out the it's real and everything like that. And you've you know, what's nice is that you're not the first, but we've been almost talking for 2 hours and you've been really great to hang in there. I hope Wendy loves when I send her these things that are like 2 hours.
Like, you're killing me.
Mostly the 2 hours for audio, but I just leave it in because it's just a lot of fun to plus and Louie, I guess he got tired of visiting.
Yeah, he was over it. Yeah, he tried to get on my lap enough times and you know, I had to give him the Heisman. He finally,
the thing you were doing back there, I know that all too well, where you're just like, you know, you're talking and it's like,
yeah, just please don't jump on me. Yeah.
Let's so Mercy Rising, it's 12 tracks of pure goodness. You're gonna just and it's a lot of her life being spoken in honesty and in dressed up very well, and great production too. And
well, thank you.
I like the shimmering guitars and the and you know, the cinematic feel of some of the songs. And I don't know what genre you picked yourself to be in. You know, it's just like the songs are yours, but people like to categorize people, especially nowadays. But
alternative, Americana.
It feels a little alternative. It had a nice classic feel to it, you know, as opposed to what we're hearing now. So,
well, thank you.
Americana seems to be the. I've said it before. It's the catch-all. When you can't figure out what it is, let's call it Americana, and then we can all play in the same venues together. That's
fine.
Yeah. Well, great. I hope the Bonnie Raitt thing comes true very soon. I'd love to follow your career, and it's great to have gotten to know you. It's really been a pleasure. You seemed, you know, at least on here, you seemed like you've handled things well. You've rolled with the punches. A lot of your friends and some other people have they've gotten depression or worse, or, you know, maybe drinking too much. I know that things have really gone haywire for a lot of people in your you know, your line of work or your art. Do you have any kind of like, hey, listen, everything's going to be okay. You know, we're all in this together and we can support each other. Is there any good, not to try to put you on the spot as a philosopher, but with all the answers, but I think that, you know,
Well,
Anything that they can look to you for just a quick little positive nugget, maybe?
I mean, I think I can speak more from a personal place than a philosophical one, is that I know that my small circle of friends and the random, hey, friend, I was just thinking about you. How are you? Text that we've been throwing each other for the last year, and like FaceTime out of nowhere. And like, just, I mean, really the texts too. It seems like such a little thing, but like just that, you know, just to let somebody know that they're on your mind and those things. I think this is one of the things that I'm going to carry over after all this, like after we can actually gather in person. If I am thinking about a friend or like a funny thing that we said or a song that we wrote together, I'm just going to fly over a text, just a little thing. And that, also when I was sick, my circle of friends like had to go shopping for me and like had to pick up, the prescription for the pneumonia that turned out was viral, and the prescription didn't help anything, but still the just the support of your friend circle. There are ways to let each other know that you're still there and that you're alone in your house, but you're not alone. Those things have been really, really helpful for me. And I'm pretty sure that would help anybody, So those, I guess those are little things. It's not so much of everything's going to be all right, but it's there are these tiny little things that, you can do for your friends and your family that are just like hey, I was thinking about you, love you. I'm saying I love you all the time too. Like that's something I would do with family or like, a partner, a romantic partner. But now like my friends, I love them and I tell them every single time. And there's a little bit of like, early on it was like, cause I don't know who's going to get sick, who could get sick and get really sick. So if I love you, you're going to hear it. I really do. And you're going to hear it probably every time that we talk. And now that's what's happening. And if, maybe a couple years ago it would have felt like, oh, that's so frilly, please. And now it's like, yeah, no, I think we're just going to be saying that from now till the end. And those little things are helpful. They don't seem like a lot. They're not a lot of energy, and they're just real and they're helpful.
What a wonderful message. Well, I love you, Maia. Thank you.
I love you too.
See, I'm going to leave that part in. I do hope you had a good time, because I did. I thought we'd be talking maybe for two or 3 minutes, and we went for like this long. So that's when I know it's a good show. So
well, thank you so much for having me, and I did enjoy it a lot. And I highly advise other writers to come on the show, because it just feels like a conversation. It doesn't feel like that. The interview that you've already had 1,000 times. Like it just feels like you're hanging out with your new friend. So why wouldn't you want to do that?
Oh, shucks. It's like I asked you to say that, but I appreciate that. Thank you, Maia. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Maia Sharp has an album. It is going to be out on May 7th. It is called Mercy Rising. She has been here with me, and she has been a stellar guest, and I am really honored that I had her on the program. So Maia, my hat's off to you, since I don't have a hat. Sorry. You've been really great. I love your music, and I hope this won't be the last time. If you have another one down the line, hopefully Wendy will hook us up again, because this has been a really good show.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna hang up, and we'll let you know the updates on this. But
okay.
all my best, and have a great night tonight, and enjoy the rest of 2021. Maybe always green lights and blue skies from now on.
Finally. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You take care, and we'll talk to you again. Have a great one.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Dean.
Bye, Maia. Thank you.
Bye.